the elite themselves, whom I've had the privilege of knowing now for about 35 years. And during this period of time, I've kept in touch with a few of these people, and everything they've ever told me has come to pass exactly like they say it, because they are the ones that do it. There positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. I don't know how to say this any more positively than for you to understand. I lived with them, I knew them, and I've kept in touch with some of them. And they control governments. They tell the president what to do. They dictate to Congress what bills to pass. They control the currencies of the world. They have put the world into the state it's in today. They have established the New World Order. I could go on and on and on with
They are in charge.
Oh, they are totally in charge. They know everything they're doing, and it's planned well in advance.
Then he said something so startling, Alec, that I am still sitting here shocked by what he said. He said, Chaplain Williams, the price of crude oil is going to $50 a barrel.
So what you're saying, outside of the natural forces that would normally dictate what oil and gasoline might do, other forces are at play that the gentleman says will drive prices down on oil to $50 a barrel and perhaps the gasoline to $2.
He said it just as if he had just returned from the board meeting, as casually as you and I are talking on Alex Jones' show, and I did not ask him for it. I had asked him where the price of gasoline was going, and he said slightly higher. And then he said, out of a clear blue sky, the price of crude oil is going to $50 a barrel.
Amazing. Continuing, let's look at the Iran situation. What did he tell you on Iran? That's the big one.
I am so glad you asked about this, Alex, because Iran right now is critical. You remember that 2 years ago, and again, I recorded this on my DVD series, and I said, everybody thought we were going to war with Iran 2 years ago. We had all of our Air Force, our Navy, Marines, everybody battle ready, right out there in the Persian Gulf. And nearly every talk show host, and I, as a talk show guest, was saying, we're about to go to war with Iran. And I was on the phone with this elitist friend of mine one day, and he said,
no, it's not going to happen for a couple years, but that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, and then 1 year ago, nearly everybody was getting ready for it again. And he said the same thing. He said, Chaplain, it is not time for war with Iran yet. Well, I'm changing my tune altogether. It's now. It's time. They are within folks, please jot this down. You are within 3 to 4 months of, and I'm putting this just as positively as I can in a manner that they would say it. The elite want a Middle East crisis within 4 to 5 months' time. It is now. Before I said you have nothing to worry about. I'm telling you now, you're within 4 or 5 months to the time that they want this. It is time.
Egypt erupting. Protesters are back on the streets of Cairo for a 5th straight day. Dozens have been killed, thousands wounded as the government tries to crack down on the demonstrations. President Hosni Mubarak's cabinet officially resigned just hours ago, but he continues to hold on to power.
It really is hard to overstate how important Egypt is to this country, to America. The country is our top Arab ally on fighting terror, protecting Israel, and containing Iran. And now concern over Egyptian instability is sending our stock market plunging. The Dow closed down 166 points yesterday. That's the biggest one-day drop in almost 6 months. And oil futures jumped $3.70 to just under $90 a barrel, the biggest gain since September.
But from everything you've been told, you say it ties into that from your sources. Break it down for us.
When I woke up this morning and heard the crisis in Egypt and that it had spread to Jordan and Yemen, my mind went right back to what had been predicted on your program 4 months ago. I had been told by the elitist of the world, and prior to Mr. Fromm's passing away, he had told me that they were going to have a crisis, or wanted a crisis in the Middle East. And here we are exactly, Alex, 4 months later, just as this gentleman told me, with a crisis now developing in Egypt and Jordan and Yemen, and the Suez Canal, 30% of the world's oil travels through that canal on any given day. If this spills over into the Suez, we will have $4 to $5 a gallon gasoline at the gas pump overnight.
Civil unrest going on in Libya, you may have noticed gas prices going back up. By Memorial Day, brace yourself for this, we could be looking at $5 a gallon. ABC 7's Lisa Amin Khalisian is live in San Jose with more on that story. Lisa.
Dan, what's happening in Libya could impact gas prices here. And even though most of Libya's crude oil goes to Europe, European countries are starting to compete for our oil sources, and that is driving prices up. The unrest in Libya is causing instability on several fronts here at home. The Dow dropped 107 points and the price for a barrel of oil shot up to $100, but settled just under that. And every dollar increase in oil means paying 2.5 cents more at the pump.
We could see gasoline between $4 and $5 a gallon by Memorial Day, maybe sooner.
Every bit of this, and I say this by the providence of God, because there's no way in the world that I, as a little ordinary everyday guy, could have ever known any of this had it not been told me by the elitist of the world, and of course by Mr. Fromm before he passed away. And Bob Chapman, I'm so glad you're on the program today, because I remember so well back 2.5 years ago. It was on a Friday, just like this, and you and I were on Alex's program together. And I had warned Alex that I had something so bizarre that it would shake the world. And he allowed me. And I risked my reputation and came on the program, and you were right there, Bob, and remarked about it. And I said, I've just been told by this elitist friend, now we know who his name is, Mr. Ken Fromm. And I said, he just told me that the price of crude oil is going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel. And I remember, Bob, that you remarked, my goodness, I don't know how this can possibly happen. And I wondered myself if I wasn't crazy. But I said it, and exactly 3 months later, Alex, just as this gentleman had told me, Mr. Fromm, it took place. In fact, it went to $34 a barrel. And he said at the same time, he said the price of crude oil is going to stay between $50 and $70 a barrel for 2.5 years. Now, Alex, I got to go back to this because of the fact that if everything he said has happened in the past has happened, then everything he says is going to happen in the future is going to happen too. And I'm going to enumerate all of them for you as fast as I can possibly talk it here. And he said 2.5 years crude oil will stay there. And it did, Alex, almost to the month. 2.5 years crude oil has stayed where he said it was going to stay. And then I came on your program a few weeks ago, and I said, it's over. The price of crude oil is going back up to $150 to $200 a barrel. Folks, mark my words. I was told by Mr. Fromm before he passed away where it was going. You are going to see it go back there. If this Suez Canal has a conflict in relation, if this spills over from Egypt to the Suez Canal, we could see that $4 to $5 a gallon gasoline basically overnight. But there's more to it than this, because not only did he say 2.5 years, but Alex, 4 months ago, I was told by the elite that there is going to be a crisis in the Middle East. He did not say a war with Iran, and you'll remember my exact words. In fact, I punctuated them because I had to say it just like they said it. There is going to be a crisis in the Middle East, and I've been sitting back wondering every day when it would pop up and where it would start. And I woke up this morning and heard that it had happened in Egypt and Jordan, spilling over into Yemen, that Mubarak's son had fled the country of Egypt. And Alex, exactly like this man said it was going to happen, you are seeing it happen right before your eyes right now. This crisis in the Middle East was created. It was created by the elitist of the world. I told you right here on your show 4 to 5 months ahead of time 3 to 4 months ahead of time that they were going to bring about a crisis in the Middle East. I did not realize how monstrous.
Yeah, to be precise, it was mid-October. It's 4.5 months. 4 months, yeah.
Yeah, it took place exactly as Mr. Fromm had told me, and now, of course, they are going to continue to foment that thing in the Middle East until it takes the price of crude oil to $200 or more. Please hear this, $200 or more. Last week in my area, oil went up 3 to 5 cents per day. You're going to see it go up so high that the American people are going to be in a horrible condition.
And remember what they said about gold. They said it's all you can depend on. It surged past $1,408 today. Silver surging almost to $35 right now.
Every bit of this is planned. What happened in the Middle East was planned for the purpose of taking the oil prices to where they want them to go. But, Alex, this thing goes so much deeper than that. Here's what they're going to do. Number one, it affects the Middle East. You have not seen anything yet. Egypt was just the beginning of what's going to take place in the Middle East.
The first domino.
This domino effect. It started 4 to 5 months ago, and they told me that they were going to have a conflict in the Middle East. That conflict is going to spread. It is only starting right now. At that point, the price of crude oil will go to $200 a barrel, where I told you 2 years ago that they said at a certain point it would start to go up to that point. I did not know at the time why they were going to take it there. I do now because of the other informant that gave me this information only a few days ago. I have it sitting right here in front of me. And what will happen basically is things will get so corrupt in the Middle East that they will begin to open up certain oil fields in the United States of America, in particular the Bakken oil field, the Gull Island field. You must read in my book, Energy Non-Crisis, which is not even in print anymore, but if any of you have it, please read the chapter of Gull Island and blow your mind. This will. They'll open up the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. They will have to begin to produce from our own soil, but they're not going to let you have the gasoline at a reasonable price at the gas pump. You will be paying $5 and $6 a gallon there, but the oil companies will become filthy rich because of what they're doing, and every bit of this is a plan that was planned behind closed doors. I only knew part of it years ago. Little by little, I put the pieces together. Now, every bit of it is evident, and you can understand everything that they're doing whenever you see how this all began in the Middle East with Egypt just a few weeks ago. What is it that these elitists, many of them, and these corporate heads, what is it that they know that you and I don't know? Why are they bailing out? I was told by my elitist friend, and I recorded it on DVD, that by 2012, the dollar will be dead. What is it that these people know? They know what's about to happen. They know that we're going to a world currency. They know that the dollar is on its way out. Russia knows it. China knows it. That's the reason they didn't sign their agreement for crude oil and natural gas using dollars. Instead, they said we're going to use another currency. They're looking to the future because they know what's going to happen. The elitists have it already have stated to me that by 2012, the dollar will be dead. The elitists definitely have a timeline. Their timeline is the end of 2012. I do not connect this with a Mayan calendar. I do not necessarily connect it with Scripture, even though there may be a connection. And I've been a minister of the gospel for 50 years. And I do know that the Bible says that certain things are going to take place, but I cannot necessarily reconcile all of the things that they've told me with the Scriptures, because much of it revolves around the United States of America and a monetary system, which really is minor compared to the disasters that are talked about in the book of Revelation. But I do know this. The elite positively have a timeline which they plan to bring to pass by the end of 2012.